So excited to talk to you about the Pit. But before we get to the show, I want to talk about how you told Katherine Langford about her Gotham nomination. Because I talked to her and she said you texted her and she had no idea what was going on. So what's your side of the story?
Okay, so my PR people, who are amazing and awesome, were very on it. And so they texted my manager that the show had been nominated for a bunch of awards. And I've been Catherine's biggest champion since day one. Or I mean, everyone loves each other, but I wanted her to get recognition so much for the lovely, lovely work she's done as Dana. And so when I saw that she'd gotten a nomination, I think I actually fist bumped. And then I texted her and she was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Girl, what do you mean what's going on? You just got nominated for a Gotham Award." So that's my side of the story. And I feel selfishly very happy that I was the one to tell her, because I just think she's done such a brilliant job.
She said she was cleaning boots in her attic.
That I can attest to that. She was.
Well, I love Samira slow-mo. I know they gave you the character breakdown before filming began. So what was in the breakdown for her?
That she's a workaholic, that she maybe hasn't really gotten to develop parts of herself because she's so fully immersed in her work. She's someone who's really passionate about racial justice in the ER because of trauma that she has in her past. And she just really loves viewing each patient holistically. She really wants to dig deep and get into all of the little details. I think in part because she just doesn't want to miss anything. And there's many times over the course of the season where that little quirk of hers ends up becoming something that saves someone's life or gets them diagnosed quicker. And so I fell in love with her the second I read her little Bible, as Scott and John would put it. And even though my life, I feel in some ways has been so different from hers, I think I always viewed her as this version of myself. So it's been healing in a way, accepting that side of me, because it feels like I've tried to push it away for so long.
Well, I mean, you were almost pre-med too.
I was pre-med.
Okay.
Only course I didn't do very conveniently was organic chemistry, which around that time my acting career was taking off. And so I just thought, okay, let me just focus on this. But I was pre-med. I really thought I was going to become a doctor. And I think Samira is almost like a version of myself had I done that. I think I love being the best I possibly can be at everything I do. And so I think she just threw herself into her work. And so, yeah, like I said, it's almost like I'm reaching out to this version of me and I'm like, hey, I see you. I accept you. You get to live this side of your life on a TV show.
It was like a sliding doors moment for you. And now you get to have best of both worlds. So
totally. I mean, I feel so lucky that I get to combine, two things that I'm passionate about. I almost even went to medical school last year before I booked the Pitt, because I think I felt like my career was going nowhere. And so I just thought, okay, well, what if I just took the MCAT and saw how well I did? And then I got my score and I was like, okay, I think maybe I should fully pursue this. And then I ended up auditioning for the Pitt and here we are.
What kind of perspective does your medical background give you on the show?
It's a little easier for me to understand what's going on in a scene. I think I was able to break sides down a lot quicker. I will also say, I think out of everyone who's probably involved in the show, I am least surprised that it's as much of a hit as it is. Because I still remember getting the audition, and I've auditioned for so many doctors before, but I still remember getting this audition. And my first scene was it's a trauma scene, the one in episode 1 where it's the guy who was pushed onto the train tracks with the woman. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, there is a logical flow here from what I can understand with the medicine and the procedures. There's a logical flow here that I had never seen in any other audition I had done before for any doctor. And so I was even able to step into the character more fully, I feel, because there were other times where I've auditioned and I'm just like, okay, I just need to forget that this technically would
suspend your disbelief. Yeah.
And I disbelief. I was able to throw myself so fully into this while I'm not pretending to understand everything or be able to accurately break down everything in the sides. That's why we have actual doctors on set. I do think my background allows me to recognize how special the show is and probably move like a little bit quicker.
Well, we know Samira's dad died when she was 13. And yeah, like you said, she's studying like racial disparity in healthcare. And, you can obviously infer that her dad was probably a victim of improper healthcare because he's a POC. And like for you as an actor, is that all you need to develop the character, or do you create more of like a backstory of like what exactly happened with her dad?
I was really specific about what happened. I mean, Scott and Jadon gave me an age where it happened and where it happened and how it happened. But then I think for me to relate to her, because I mean, thankfully, knock on wood, my parents are both happy and healthy and very present in my life. So I think in order to relate to her, I just did a lot of like imagination work of what that felt like, what that day was like, where she feels her dad's loss most in her life. And I think she was really close to him. I think he was her biggest champion. And I think it's really heartbreaking for her to have all of these successes and not be able to share them with him. I think she just has to hope that there's some version of him somewhere that like knows that she's trying to make him proud. I think in part, even her going down this path in the ER. I mean, her father passes because of improper ER handling of his condition. I think in her being an ER doctor, she's also trying to rework some of this trauma. I think she's trying to feel like she can save someone, or she can save herself, or she can prevent someone from experiencing what she experienced by saving their dad. And I think we see this come to fruition in episode 11, where she does something that's a little out of character for slow-mo, and crosses like a boundary with a patient. But I just think that's so beautiful, because I think sometimes with the archetype of the doctor that cares too much, right? I think they just sort of leave it at that. I think Scott and John did such a great job of showing that it's a little more messy and murky than that with Samira's case. Like there's some trauma that she's reworking there. And yeah, that's just been so fun to play with.
Yeah, and it's like it's such a contrast because you sometimes hear about like doctors just like ER doctors having to fill quotas, like I mean basically what Robbie's saying to her in the beginning, and he's being harangued by Gloria obviously, but she's so committed to patient care and spending time with them and learning about them. Yeah, and then you understand like, oh, it's because she has this own trauma in her life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think you see like the positive and the negatives to that as well. I mean, it's great that she wants to spend time with each patient. I mean, I would love to have Samira as my doctor, because the number of times I'm like talking to a doctor and I'm like, just, oh, but wait, just like one last thing, like please don't go. So I think it's so incredible that she takes that time. And then on the flip side, I don't know if I would want her necessarily as my colleague, because it feels like I have to maybe pick up her slack. And then you see like the number of people that are waiting in the waiting room, and what does it mean ethically that she's not moving as fast? I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't have like an answer for you. And I think the show, while it really appreciates Samira's meticulousness and how much she cares about her patients, also does show like the downsides of that, to I think help the audience empathize that there is a reason why your ER doctor isn't spending this much time with you. There are like probably thousands of things that they need to do that have different priorities. So I think the show does such a great job of that.
Well, I love that she's also not shaken by Robbie's criticism. Like obviously he's said this to her before, but like, she always stands her ground. She's like, this is the speed I'm comfortable at, and just very steadfast about it. And like, what do you think that says about like her confidence?
The reason why she's comfortable at that speed, I think she can go faster. I think there's like a middle ground where she is still looking at patients holistically, is still moving faster. I think you see this happen over the course of the season. But I think when we meet her in episode 3 with that, the reason she says I work at the speed I'm comfortable at is, I think, because she just has a lot of anxiety about making a mistake. she's comfortable at that speed because she needs to feel like she has covered every possible base, ran every possible test. I think there's a lack of assuredness sometimes in her approach and her ability. And that's why she's moving a little slower. I think over the course of the season, you see her gain more confidence. I mean, she has this like absolute career high, I think, with the mass casualty incident, which, I mean, it is a career high, but also incredibly traumatic. And so I think the show shows her arc of like stepping into herself as a doctor, which I think with an incident as intense as an MCI affords doctors to be able to have that arc over the course of the day.
Throughout like the latter half of the season, like she is getting validation from her colleagues, right? Like Collins apologizes to her, right? And then, Santos gives her the win for the hyponatremia case. Right. So like what is she thinking? She's like I mean, in a way she's like, is she vindicated? Like, because like Collins is apologizing for calling her slow-mo.
Yeah, I mean, I think she is feeling more vindicated. I think she's figuring out how to exist in the ER in a way that isn't totally giving into Robbie's demands. Like, I don't think she's ever going to be that type of doctor where she's, in and out, where like it's maybe more like a Langdon type. Like, I don't think she's ever going to be there, but I think she's stepping into herself and realizing, no, like my approach does have like a strength, like with Nundy, the patient, like no one else caught that. Samira did. And so she is getting all of this validation from her colleagues, even with Santos. I don't know if that's necessarily validation, but I think she definitely feels like she has like an ally in there. I don't know if she's like as friendly with the other doctors before an incident like that, and then she feels a little bit more like she has an ally in the ER. But I do think all of that validation in conjunction with all of the trauma that she experiences with the MCI kind of leads her to having this not so great moment at the finale of the show, because I think there's like, I mean, Scott and I talked about it a bunch. We didn't want it to be totally manic, but there's something happening there that's bordering on mania. I think with that adrenaline high and all of the validation she's getting, I think it's a really confusing time for her by the time the shift ends. I don't know if she really knows how to process it.
Yeah, I mean, you did it all with your eyes. Like, what was it like that portraying that adrenaline high?
It was interesting because there's so many different responses to trauma. I mean, I think there's a lot more. There's a lot of doctors who relate a lot to Robbie's story, where it's just the sudden like I can't deal with this anymore. But there were a lot of doctors and nurses that I spoke to as well that had the sense of like, I'm a superhero. I can go as long as I possibly need. I save so many people, I can continue saving people. What do you mean? And I think a lot of people who've been in high pressure jobs can also empathize with that. Like, I've gotten so many messages from people in the service industry. They're like, I had this like exact moment while on a shift. And I've also gotten so many messages from doctors. There was, in fact, a doctor that reached out because I performed a procedure that was like based off of his procedure. And he even sent me the paper and everything we were talking about. And this was around episode 12, 13. And the finale came out and he reached out again and he just said, I've never really seen anyone portray my response to trauma as well as the show has in that moment. Because I had that exact same experience where I worked a double. I thought I could do like a couple more hours, and then I totally crashed out in the bathroom, actually. And so many nurses on our set also noted that they would feel like they're fine, they would feel like they're doing great, and they would just sit in their car and suddenly it would just be like tears, because they would suddenly have to process what they went through that day. And I mean, I think that is essentially what's happening with Samira in the bathroom, and why she also doesn't want to go home, because she knows if she goes home, she has to confront the reality that she has to process this, and there's no one to process with. She doesn't really have anyone to decompress with. She's actually quite lonely.
It was so sad. Like, in a way, it was sad when like McKay was telling her, basically to like get a life, right? And it was like, she really doesn't have anything to go home to, right? Like, she's also an only child. We know that she's a workaholic, and like she can't decompress in any way when she goes home. So she'd rather stay there.
I think the only person really in her life is her mom, but I don't know if, and I mean, again, so many ear doctors have reached out to me and said this, where they said this show is the first time I can talk to my family about this, because otherwise I don't know, I don't want to burden them with with how awful my day was. And I think she feels the same way about her mother. Like, I don't think she wants to tell her, hey, like I spent most of today with my arms down people's like body parts, and ultimately I saved them, but it's still I think a hard thing to communicate to someone who isn't experiencing that. So I think her going to the park and having that moment and decompressing with everyone on the shift was actually a really big moment for her, even though
socializing, and she just didn't get no social life. So
absolutely, like I think it was implicitly implied, but I think for me that was like such a wonderful button to her arc this season.
Well, we have to talk about Mohan and Abbot, their ship name, Mo Abbott. I mean, I talked to Sean and he thinks there's something there and he's flirting with her. And I know you've said like Samira doesn't realize he's flirting because she's so laser focused on work. But at what point do you think she'll realize that he's flirting?
I mean, I would hope over the next year. Because at that point, I'd be like, girl, like, how are you not seeing what's happening right in front of you? No, I mean, it's so amazing to work with Sean. And I mean, that heart procedure was so fun. I mean, this is my favorite fun fact of the season. There was only one other instance of that procedure being done. Like, there was the paper we cite, the South Korean one. There's only that. I don't know if it's been done outside of that. So I was just totally nerding out over it. And I just thought it was so like fun and I mean flirtatious to be like working over this heart procedure, but then he like lets me take the reins. Yeah, I mean,
when he's like, oh, I couldn't, it was too risky for me to do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intention is to have it be a joke, but I think Samira is just so socially awkward that she doesn't get it, and I think it is hilariously like this moment of panic for her in the moment of like, oh my God, what did I just do?
But I mean, there are like, earlier in the Mass Casualty, like she is kind of like impressed by him, like between like the stuff in his go bag and him donating blood via his leg, like, so what is she thinking about him?
I mean, I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. Like, I mean, Sean, I think, has mentioned that there was a scene in the first episode that ended up getting cut where he defends me against people calling me slow-mo. And I think I feel the same way about him. I mean, I think he's a little bit of a loner. He also works a lot. He's someone that I see working on the night shifts a lot because Samira tends to work doubles. But I think there's just a lot of respect for him there. I think, I understand where he's coming from. I understand his background. And I think he's, even over the course of the Mass Casualty, has taught me a bunch of things about like thinking on my feet, working with the resources, the materials you have. And I think that even allows Samira to be pushed to do some pretty badass things in like episode 13 and 14. So I think he's absolutely just like a really great influence on the character.
Do you think they would be a good match?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's up to the writers, but I do think it's interesting, right? Will they further fall into workaholic tendencies and bring that out in each other? Or will they find something that's going to help them not throw themselves into work as much and build a life outside of this? I don't know. But I'm just excited to see where the writers decide to take it.
Oh, well, going back to Robbie for a second, what do you think Samira is thinking while she's watching him trying to save Leah? Because like he's essentially kind of doing what he's been criticizing her for doing, like caring too much about one patient, and in a way you can kind of maybe sense that like, oh, he's maybe trying to protect Samira from what he experienced with Adamson.
I think she knows that one of the reasons why he's hard on her is because he sees a lot of potential in her. I don't know if she fully realizes that some of her pitfalls are also some of his pitfalls. I don't know if she realizes that he sees so much of himself in her. I think maybe that first hint of that is with Leah, where everyone in the red zone and whoever's aware of this in the pink zone knows that this girl is dead. There's no way we can revive her, and at this point he is wasting resources on her. And so I don't think she's judging him for it. I don't think she's saying, you know, you're a hypocrite. And I mean, that's also the intention with which I wanted to play the scene. I think I think she gets it. You know, if this was someone, if she had a friend, if she was trying to save that, I mean, I think she would also just throw herself into it and do everything she possibly
Yeah,
could.
for sure. I mean, like the reactions of everyone in the room is like everyone understands like why he's doing this. But to me, I also felt like, oh, in a way, I was like, it's kind of like Robbie's almost a father figure to Samira. Like that's what I got for it because it was like all these different layers to it. And
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's how I was playing it. Like, I think she wants this father figure in her life, and she looks up to Robbie so much. And I think that's why it is so devastating to her when he doesn't approve of her, because she's consciously, unconsciously projecting this onto him. And so I think his approval means a lot to her. Like father, like daughter. We both invest a little too much in our
you're gonna go to the ends of the earth for your patience. So, lastly, season 2, 4th of July, 10 months. What do you know? What do you want to happen? Samira, will Samira have more of a life by then?
Oh, I literally don't know anything. I wish I had something I could tell you, but I have not heard anything. I'm just really excited. I love the show. I'm excited to hear what's gonna happen and where they take everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm like refreshing my email every day, hoping like a script will will drop in my inbox, because I mean, this is so weird to say, but I'm a fan of the show as well, and so I want to know where they end up taking everything. And yeah, John and Scott are such amazing writers. So is Noah, and I have full faith it's going to be amazing.
She needs to have more beers in the park.
10 more beers in a park.
Hopefully, she'll realize that Abbott is flirting with her by then. So 10 months.
One would hope. One would hope. It was so funny because in the moment, like Supriya, the actor, was so aware of what's going on. It was very hard to just sort of be like, no, she's focused on the heart and the Vina Cava. Yeah. It was funny.
I hope she gets some like cool cases too, because I love like this season, you know, she got like the defective butt implants and everything, and then like the mercury poisoning too. I was like, those are like fun cases, and I feel like you could have a lot of fun with 4th of July too. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's 10 months later, so I assume she's going to be, you know, in a more senior position, which means she could probably take on more. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where they end up going with it.